Good morning. This is Teresa in Gemma's house. And today's project, I'm going to work in my kitchen. I decided that I would like a secondary color in this kitchen. They're all brown cabinets. And don't get me wrong, I love dark cabinets. I actually wanted dark cabinets, so I was thrilled when I found this place. But I would like a secondary color. I decided I'm going to paint these lower cabinets just along this one wall a blue color. And since I don't like to buy new supplies for every project, I try to use what I have already. I'm going to use the leftover paint that I used in my main bathroom on the walls and ceiling. I love that blue color. I want to make them more casual looking maybe. I'll play with the finish to see what I can get. You can see that these bottom cabinets didn't age very well. This place is only 10 years old, but these bottom cabinets for some reason got more of a beating than the top cabinets did. So they're looking a little aged. I'm not going to use my standard paint brushes. I'm going to use these chip brushes. They have stiffer bristles and they have a chip edge, so the paint will go on more striated looking. And I'll play with it as I go, and with the results I'm getting, I'll change it probably 2 or 3 times. So first, I will take off these doors, and I'm going to remove the hinges from the actual door instead of from the base cabinet, because there are adjustment screws here, and this one screw in the middle that's holding the hinge onto the base cabinet is also adjusted for the height of the door so they line up. And I don't want to mess with having to line the doors up again, so I'm going to just take the hinge off from the actual door using these 2 simple screws. These are not adjustment screws. And I'll label each door with a number and the position I took it from. Hi, Gemma. She doesn't like the camera. Before I paint, I'm going to clean off the cabinets really well with this Dawn dishwashing detergent and these regular kitchen scrubby sponges. I'm using this Dawn detergent instead of TSP. I don't want to use harsh chemicals whenever I can avoid it. So this is a little scary for me because this project is pretty major. It's really going to change the look of the kitchen, and depending on the results I get, I might paint this wall an accent color, and we'll see how it turns out. Okay, so something tells me that was the easy part. Now to clean off the cabinets. Okay, so these doors that were in the worst shape, as I scrub them, the finish is actually coming off of parts of it. I of course don't want to take off the finish because when I paint these doors, I might sand parts of the edges to give it a distressed look. So I want to keep this original dark finish on it. I think this was the worst door actually. So I just scrubbed it enough to get the rough parts off, so it's smooth at least, to take the paint. Okay, so I got all the doors scrubbed off with the Dawn detergent, and they dried kind of foggy like this with some detergent left on them. So I'm using these small, thin cotton baby washcloths in hot water just to wipe off the Dawn detergent. And I'll stand them up against the cabinets to dry so that both sides of the door will dry. Okay, I got all the doors cleaned off with that Dawn dish detergent, and they look really nice. So the two worst doors were the ones that were in the sink base cabinet. Those two doors, the finish was flaking on those two the worst. So I scrubbed off the coarse pieces. The paint will cover that, no problem. So these look great. Not that I would want to use them like this, but I think that cleaner did a great job of degreasing. Okay, so now I can prepare to paint. I'm going to start with the smallest door and see what kind of finish I come up with. Okay, so this is a test. I don't know how this paint will go on if I water it down, but that's what I had in mind to do. I have just a small amount of the paint in here, and I'm going to just mix in maybe 1 part water to 2 parts paint to thin it. So with one of the small chip brushes, I'm just going to give it 1 coat for starters, trying to keep the brush strokes following the grain of the original wood. And at the ends here, I want to brush up from the very edge of that panel to make sure the brush strokes are just even and they're not going across on the panel. And the same at these corners. I want to follow the grain, so I'm just going at a diagonal here, and then at the other diagonal I'll change directions. Like this. This paint seems like it's really extending far. Doesn't seem like it's taking much paint at all. And this is regular latex interior paint. Just checking the direction of my brush strokes in these corners here so they're not overlapping. And as the paint is setting up a little, I'm just going to even out my brush strokes on this panel part. I'm just going to paint lightly on this edge. So the paint is setting up a little, and I'm just going lightly over these parts to even out my brush strokes. It doesn't seem like it's picking up the paint, like removing the paint. It's just making my brush strokes more even looking. And I'm just doing this very lightly. Okay, so that's a good first pass. And this is the brush I'm using. It's one of the chip brushes, and it's pretty ragged on the ends, as you can see, so that it doesn't put down a full coat of paint evenly, but it just makes more striations, kind of like wood grain. That's why I chipped out these brushes, because I was painting baseboards in the areas where I put dark laminate wood floor down, and I took off the white baseboards and painted those to look like wood grain to match the floors. Okay, so I'll let this dry. And actually, I'm kind of liking the look of this so far, but you can't really tell until it's all the way dry. Gemma kind of matches the cabinet paint color. Okay, so I decided to put another really thin coat of paint on this test door. And I took the drawer out from this cabinet, and I'm going to paint the frame and the drawer front. Give them 2 thin coats of paint also. Okay, so I'm painting the frame of the cabinet, and I switched to one of my artist brushes. It's just a flat natural bristle brush. So I don't want to have to tape off the wall, so I'm just very slowly painting a thin layer of paint down this molding. And because it's a blunt end on this paintbrush, it's doing a really nice job. And I think the key is to have this paint pretty thin. I ended up adding more water to the paint, so it's probably 1 part water to 1 part paint. And I'll just do multiple coats. There we go. I didn't have to tape it off. And in between painting sessions, I just put a little bit of plastic wrap over top of the paint in the tray so it doesn't dry out. And the same with the brush. I added a tiny bit of water to the brush and put it in this plastic sandwich bag and then zipped it shut. And boy, this door is looking nice as it's drying. This is the second coat. Beautiful. Okay, so the base cabinet is looking pretty good too. This is only the first coat. I'll put a second thin coat on it. And as you can see, I have a lot of work ahead of me still. So this video is long enough, so I'll end it here, and you'll be able to see the finish next week after I get all this other work done, which will be just a repeat of what I did here. So thanks again for watching. Until next week, bye-bye.